If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome to hour number 22 of Notre Dame Day, a 29-hour global celebration of the University of Notre Dame. If you've been watching us since last night, thank you, and we promise you this hour's telecast will not disappoint. My name is Jack Nolan. If you're a fan of Notre Dame sports, you might know me from my work for Fighting Irish Digital Media. I am here at the LaFortune Student Center on the Notre Dame campus, just a few yards away from the university's main building and its famous Golden Dome. In this hour, we will continue to celebrate all things Notre Dame with students, alumni, parents, friends, and fans all around the world. I'm joined here in our studio by my co-host for this hour, Emily Evans, an anchor with ABC 57 News here in South Bend. Emily, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Jack. I'm so excited to be part of Notre Dame this year, and we'd like our viewers at home to know that this broadcast is being streamed all around the world to anyone with an internet connection.
And beyond the great stories we're telling during Notre Dame Day, we have something very special going on. You, our viewers, will have a say in who gets an additional $1 million. Let me say that again. You, our viewing audience, have total control today over where $1 million will be distributed at Notre Dame.
That's right, Jack, and the total votes cast during our Notre Dame Day broadcast for student clubs, residence halls, the academy, and so on will determine what percentage of the $1 million they'll receive. So the more votes you cast for your favorite academic unit, club, hall, team, or department during Notre Dame Day, the higher the percentage of the $1 million they will receive. And Jack, we'd be remiss if we didn't give a quick shout out to the donors who were kind enough to provide Notre Dame Day with this $1 million gift. It's pretty awesome. And very generous. If you make a gift during Notre Dame Day today, you can vote for the Notre Dame entity you'd like to get part of the $1 million in challenge funds, student clubs, college departments, institutes and centers, residence halls, athletics. You get to vote. At the conclusion of Notre Dame Day, each participating entity will receive a portion of the challenge funds based on the percentage of overall votes received. That means that your $10 gift, and that's the minimum, all you have to do is give $10, has the possibility of turning into a $100 gift, and you get 5 votes for that first $10 gift. So please consider making a gift and voting for your favorite Notre Dame Day group. Emily? And this hour is full of great Notre Dame stories. We'll be joined by John Athletic-Graves, the Executive Vice President of the university. We'll also visit the Anthropology Bone Lab and talk with Carter Sneed, the Director for the Center of Ethics and Culture. We're also heading out to the Pacific Northwest to the magnificent workshop of master organ builder Paul Fritz, who is building the new organ for the Basilica of the Sacred Heart. And I'll have a very special chat with Notre Dame and Pittsburgh Steelers football hero Rocky Bleier. So please stay tuned because we'll be right back to these stories and much more after this short break.
This is my city. My grandfather worked in the factories here. My parents met and fell in love here. They taught in the city's schools, while the factories closed and the jobs disappeared. I grew up with the knowledge that behind the facade of empty buildings was a spark of innovation that made this city great. I've always been proud of South Bend's past, but I'm even more proud to be part of its future.
Andrew Wyand is a member of Enfocus, a fellowship program in which graduates of Notre Dame's Masters in Entrepreneurship work to create new ventures and improve existing systems for the city of South Bend and local businesses.
The goal of the Enfocus program is to capitalize on the student body here at Notre Dame and to bring an entrepreneurial spirit and cutting-edge technology skills to the real-world problems that we have in the community.
In their first year of operation, the Enfocus team has helped save the South Bend community an estimated $3.2 million through innovative initiatives with local healthcare providers, as well as the city's schools and fire department.
In the case of the fire department, we were able to analyze their operations and discover that they could save over $1 million by deploying SUVs rather than fire trucks for the large amount of non-emergency calls that they receive.
These entrepreneurs, they're solving real-world problems, they're saving taxpayer money, and their energy is contagious. The city needs allies, and we're very glad that we have an ally in Notre Dame.
It's been unbelievable to be an active part of real change in my hometown. But what's more exciting is that the Enfocus model that we've developed here can be applied to other hard-hit cities all over the country.
The University of Notre Dame asks, what would you fight for?
Fighting for my hometown.
We are Fighting Irish.
Welcome back to Notre Dame Day. I'm Emily Evans. I'm pleased to be joined here in the studio by John Affleck-Graves, Executive Vice President of the University of Notre Dame. Dr. Affleck-Graves, thank you so much for joining us on Notre Dame Day.
It's wonderful to be with you.
Our first question, we've seen a lot of construction around campus, a lot of projects going on, especially around Notre Dame Stadium. Would you be able to give us an update on the stadium project?
Well, that's a project we're so excited about. We're making wonderful progress. The steel is coming out of the ground and right on schedule on that project, despite a fairly tough winter. But it is such an exciting project for Notre Dame because what this does is it gives us an opportunity to take what is an important, very, very important, iconic venue for Notre Dame, our stadium, but really to integrate it with our three most important things on campus: our academic programs, student life, and our spirituality. And so truly, truly a wonderful opportunity to integrate those, to bring the academy into that space, to show how important it is that we have academics integrated with everything else on campus.
And it's such an exciting project. And how will the stadium project impact student life here at Notre Dame?
Well, it's very exciting for student life. You know, our students are so active. We now have 435 clubs on campus. We simply don't have enough space for the students to meet. We have so many students going into class in DeBartolo Hall every day. So to have this beautiful venue right next to the major teaching facility and the academic buildings on campus, where students can go in between class, have a cup of coffee, get something to eat, sit and work in a group, visit a student club, watch this Notre Dame television station in operation in that center, or go up to the third and the fourth floor, have some exercise. You know, it's such an important part now of educating the mind, the body, and the spirit. And so that body part, very, very important for us. So 2 full floors of recreational space for students. And then above that, the other one that's very important is the Career Center, where they can go and they can have a mock interview, they can interview with a firm, they can prepare for a visit to a firm. So it really creates one-stop shopping for our students, one great venue where they can go, they can do so many of their activities. So just a venue that's going to absolutely transform student life on campus.
And finally, I know you teach a class here every fall. Can you tell us why you like being in the classroom along with your administrative duties here?
You know, I think being in the classroom is such a privilege. I think anybody who has taught will tell you that it is the greatest thing to do in life. If I could do one thing in my life, I would teach. And so when I took this job, I said to Father John that, you know, I had to teach. And the College of Business has really been tremendous in offering me that opportunity. You meet so many great students. I have an opportunity to teach the executive MBAs, and what an incredible group of students they are. So it grounds me in what's really important at Notre Dame. And when I have a bad day, you know, and things aren't going so well in the office, and I go and I meet with the students, it just enlivens you and just makes you feel a real part of the campus.
Well, that's great. And, you know, it's been an honor. Thank you for joining us for Notre Dame Day today, Dr. Affleck-Graves. And now it's time to check in with one of our own Notre Dame reporters, Nicole Saganga. Nicole, it looks like you're somewhere pretty interesting. Where are you and what's going on there?
Thank you so much, Emily. I am literally surrounded by human bones at the aptly named Anthropology Osteology Lab in the Rainier's Life Building. I'm here with biological anthropologist Dr. Susan Sheridan. Sue is currently a lead researcher on an excavation that is investigating the way people lived and died in some of the first ever walled cities near the Dead Sea, founded more than 5,000 years ago. Dr. Sheridan, I'm told you have a very special collection here in this lab. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
We actually have 3 collections, very large Near Eastern collections in the lab. One belongs to the people from the Dead Sea region that date to about 5,000 years ago. We also have a huge collection of monks from the Byzantine period here. And the third is a big dental collection of people from about 3,000 years ago. So there are a lot of opportunities for the students to work on a wide variety of collections and look at what life was like in the past.
And so you mentioned monks. Can you tell me anything about the way of life within the monastery by looking at these bones?
I'm not sure we're allowed to have a favorite, but if so, they have a special spot for me. The monks lived about 1,500 years ago, and we have an amazing written record of what life was like for these monks, and we have a good archaeological record, and quite fortunately, we came across the bones of some of the people that lived at this site as well. And so what we can do is test if the written record matches the material record, the archaeology, and that it matches the monks themselves. And so it really gives us a powerful set of tools for trying to understand life in the past. And so we find that, in fact, it is a group of men that was located at this site. We find that they may not have been exactly eating what they said they were. They weren't supposed to be eating meat. We have clear examples of them having done so. We find that they were kneeling about a couple hundred times a day, and they have terrible knees and feet as a result of it. For as extensive as the written record is for this collection, nobody mentions anything about kids, but we have over 15,000 bones, and a third of those are children. So it's been a fun ride, to say the least.
Wow, so the monks lied about being vegetarians.
I don't know if they lied. I think the written record was more, this is the ideal. And then the monks themselves are telling us, this is what it was.
All right, I got you. Now tell me about some of your most interesting pieces. I see some bones here in front of us right now.
Yeah, just happen to have a few of them. We have a couple of people in the collection that are really big. And this came as a surprise. One is, this is the tibia, so this is the bone from the lower leg. And this is one of our monks. This would be me. And so this person comes out at about 6'6", 6'8", as far as the height's concerned. And this particular bone, when we pulled it out the first year, I had a little group of, a little conference with the monks that live there today in this monastery, and passed it around. They're French Dominicans, and you kept hearing, mon Dieu, from the people that were looking at it, and they got so excited that 20 years later, we're still working at the site. And so we have some people that are much bigger than we expected. I mentioned the terrible knees. We have bone-on-bone rubbing with the collection, and so there's no cartilage left. The bones are actually skidding across each other. We've got a whole foot that's fused together here. It's a fun collection. Not for them, but for us.
Well, great. And so really quick, can you tell me a little bit about Save the Skeletons?
We're trying to digitize all this. So the idea is to get this all 3D scans of everything so that people anywhere can be doing analyses. I'll never live long enough to test everything. And we're trying to also let people print them, 3D prints of this.
That's great. Thank you so much for letting us into the lab. Now back to you in the studio, Jack.
Nicole, thank you very, very much. And as promised now, I am very pleased to be joined on the phone by a true Notre Dame legend, the one and only Rocky Bleier. Rocky, of course, is a 1968 graduate of the University of Notre Dame, a standout football star for Notre Dame, as a member of the 1966 national championship team and a captain of the 1967 squad, a starting running back on a team that won 4 Super Bowls with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That team, of course, became what's considered by many the greatest football team of the 20th century. He's also a Purple Heart and Bronze Star awardee and an all-around inspirational guy. Rocky, welcome to Notre Dame Day.
Hey, Jack, thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on air. That was an interesting interview that that was just on before me. I caught the tail end of it, and I'm sorry I missed the rest of it, or the majority of it. So anyway, well, so you've been having a busy day?
We've been having a very busy day. We actually started at 6:42 last night, Rocky, 1842, when Notre Dame was founded. But I want to go back to your early days at Notre Dame. Tell me what it was like to be a member of that 1966 national championship team with Coach Ara Parseghian.
You know, actually, it was exciting only because we didn't know of the quality of players, obviously, that we had. It was Ara's third year. I was very fortunate, as my teammates, that we were Ara's first recruited class. So for us, it was our junior year as we were getting ready for that for that season. And the unknowns were quarterback were unknowns, receiver was an unknown, which was a big impact that year with Terry Hanratty as our starting quarterback. And Jim Seymour, our big receiver, and they became the Baby Bombers. And and offensively, we moved the ball. Nick Eddy was an All-American. Larry Conjure was in that backfield as well, and we had we had an offensive line that had good mixture of some veterans along with some underclassmen that helped to get a running game established and give Terry the protection he needed. Defensively, it was a strong. Defensively, we had some great leadership. Jim Lynch was the captain of that team. Obviously, Alan Page was on that. Kevin Hardy was on there. All Americans, and then went on and played. Alan Page did with the Minnesota Vikings. So there was good talent, good characters, leadership, great coaching, and it was a team that came together. And the more we won, the more we believed, and that we could be the team. And then obviously, unlike today, there was not a playoff schedule, nor were there bowl games. It was a vote left up to the writers and some input by coaches, and that was it was a game against Michigan State, the game of the century as it was called at that time, and it was a 10-10 tie. It was like kissing your sister. Fortunately, we had one game left, and we played on national television. We played arch nemesis Southern Cal, and we went out there and we beat them 51-0, and the next day was the vote, and so everybody's heart was there. We were selected as the national champions that year.
And it sounds like the way you recounted it was just yesterday. You, of course, went on to be drafted by the NFL, but then you were drafted into the military and you went to Vietnam. People of my generation know your story well. I think some younger folks may not. It's one of the great inspirational stories in the history of sports, and I'm going to let you tell it. We could spend an hour. Give me the 3-minute version.
You got it, Jack. We got the short. I mean, actually, and you're right. I mean, the fact was I got drafted coming out of Notre Dame, went to Pittsburgh, and was a 16th round draft choice, and I got to play 11 of 14 games, and I got drafted. So people don't understand the draft was in vogue at that time, and so my number was called, and all of a sudden I found myself in the service, and 4 months later, four and a half months later, I was over in Vietnam, and then it was August 20th, and we were on patrol, and we'd run into basically an ambush on a mission that we were on, and I got hit the first time. It's in through the left thigh, and then I got hit secondly later on the same day with a grenade that had blown up through my right foot, knee, and thigh, and we're in a firefight. And finally, we got out of there. Some 6 hours later, we got to a secured area. Helicopters came in, but the prognosis was that I would never play this game again because of the damage that had been done, especially to my right foot. With the nerve damage and the broken bones I had. But because of an opportunity and playing with the Steelers, and, they gave me a chance, and I came back, and then I got out of the service, and they put me in injured reserve 1 year, and then on the second year I made the taxi squad, and they bought me 2 years to get stronger and back in shape, and by 72, I came and I made the team, just playing special teams. And then it became kind of a magical year as we talk about Notre Dame football. And then all of a sudden for the Steelers, the immaculate reception, for those who don't know, a deflected pass in a playoff game, it was the first time in 40 years that that team win a division and get into the playoffs. And all of a sudden things start to change. And by 1974, I got a chance to break into the starting lineup. And from then on, we won 4 Super Bowls. And Franco Harris, my running mate, and I, in 1976, became the second set of running backs in the history of the NFL, each to gain 1,000 yards rushing in one season. And after 12 years, I retired. So that's kind of the thumbnail.
That's the nutshell, the thumbnail.
Right.
Since this is ND Day, I want to end by just having you tell us the impact that being a Notre Dame graduate and the associations you made here, the friendships, what you learned here, also about what you learned about life here, the impact that's had on your life.
Well, those relationships, that you have there at Notre Dame, having that commonality and experience, doesn't change. My best friends are still my Notre Dame classmates that I had made that it made that contact with. But also, it's a time between the ages of 18 and 22. Those are big growth times in our lives. Where you're finding out who you are and what's important. And given the structure in which Notre Dame, allows you to, one, grow, secondly, gives you a foundation in which you can experiment, but also that grounding that becomes so important in a life. If otherwise, you can get lost, and it's easy to do that somewhere else. And the grotto is a big part of at least my experience of a time of need. Whenever you wanted to be alone and reflect, and and then it's just the history and the tradition and the support mechanisms, not only at the university, but then they're outside of the university and the Alumni Association. So you have a day like today that touches everybody in one aspect or another, a reminder of what Notre Dame's all about, what its faith is about, and how you can make an impact by just being involved in a day like today. And so I'm happy to be on this show with you, and I was so pleased just because it gives me a chance to express those feelings, but more importantly, to help pay back somewhat, in a little respect, all that Notre Dame has given me.
Rocky, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Always a pleasure to talk with you.
Same here, Jack. Thank you very much.
All right, and now let's go to Emily. She has another guest. Emily?
Thank you, Jack. I'm joined now by Professor Carter Sneed, Director of the Center for Ethics and Culture and Professor of Law at the University of Notre Dame. Carter, thank you for joining us.
Great.
Happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys inviting me on.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. I'm excited to be here, my first Notre Dame Day.
Yeah.
First, can you tell us about the mission for the Center for Ethics and Culture?
Sure. The Center for Ethics and Culture, should I talk to you or should I?
Just talk to me.
I'm happy to talk. It's even better. I was glad to talk to you. So the Center for Ethics and Culture, its mission is to share the richness of the intellectual and moral tradition of the Catholic Church through cutting-edge programming, research, dialogue, debate, and discussion on campus, where we serve students and faculty and staff and the leadership of the university, but also off campus, where we seek to amplify Notre Dame's voice in the public square in those discussions and conversations where we have special expertise to bring Notre Dame's special moral capital and intellectual capital to in the service of the common good and authentic human dignity.
And what does the center do for Notre Dame students?
We create a wonderful space for Notre Dame students to become enriched and formed intellectually and culturally and spiritually. One of our most exciting programs just started this year is called the Soren Fellows Program. We have 30 students with us, and we give them special mentoring. We give them advice on courses, course selection. We give them advice about their careers, about their vocations. We provide them with special opportunities to interact with our faculty, with our special guests. Cardinal Mueller, the prefect for the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, came this past year to speak at the center, and the students got a special afternoon with him, which was wonderful for both of them, for all of them, I think. And we also design summer internship programs for these students to work during the summertime to, again, become more well-rounded students and to have an opportunity to, as Father Soren said, harness the power of Notre Dame to be a force for good in the world. So we have students this summer, who, for example, who will be working in an orphanage in China. We have a student who's going to be working for a newly elected senator on Capitol Hill. We have a student who's going to be working for a Hollywood producer who works on films that seek to transform the culture for the good. And so we're very excited. These young people, these amazing Notre Dame students, are out there, they're learning, and they're going to exert a really positive impact. And that's something that we regard as essential to our mission at the Center for Ethics and Culture.
And what does the center do for faculty at Notre Dame, and how are faculty involved?
Yeah, so we have a faculty advisory committee made up of 14 of our most prominent and eminent faculty who are passionate about Notre Dame's distinctive identity as the most preeminent Catholic research university in the world. We provide support for them. We provide fellowships for them. We also, in a more concrete way, have just begun the process of providing funding for their graduate students. So to help recruit the very best graduate students to campus who are passionate about the university's Catholic identity. And also, longer term, we're going to work with the College of Arts and Letters and the Provost and others to actually pay for faculty themselves, to recruit and to retain faculty who are on the cutting edge of their fields, who bring Notre Dame's distinctive voice into elite academia.
And how is the Center for Ethics and Culture a voice for Notre Dame in the public square?
Well, we, again, seek to promote and project Notre Dame's voice into the most contentious conversations on bioethics, for example. I've spent time testifying in Congress and in different state legislatures in service of different pro-life bills. We have an entire public policy and communications initiative where we have fellows from around the world who work in public policy in the areas that we focus on, bioethics, religious freedom, and the like. And again, through public testimony and legislative bodies, through media interviews and both on television and in print, writing op-eds, drafting white papers to advise different policymakers on questions that are of special interest to us. We again try to put our footprint in the public square in the way that Father Soren envisioned.
All right, Carter, thank you so much again for joining us today.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
And stay with us, we'll be right back after the break.
It was wrestling season, January of 2007. Brian kept complaining of his index finger hurting him. We noticed an extremely large amount of swelling on his finger. It continued to get worse.
I've never heard of MRSA. I'm thinking it's just a little infection that antibiotics is going to heal. The doctor said, ma'am, you were 24 hours from your child having his finger amputated. And he said, to be honest, you were 48 hours from him losing his life.
MRSA is a nasty bacterium. In the U.S., on an annual basis, 100,000 individuals come down with MRSA infections, of which roughly 20,000 individuals die.
Shahriar Mobasheri's work at the University of Notre Dame progresses medical science towards an antibiotic that will effectively combat MRSA in all patients. His research advances solutions for this complex infection and far-reaching clinical problem that kills 1 in 5 people who contract it around the globe.
MRSA is especially insidious because of the way it goes from one person to another. It can spread very readily in locker rooms, in prisons, and nurseries, and the like.
This is something that can affect anybody. The more that we can come up with something to cure this, it would be remarkable.
The University of Notre Dame asks, what would you fight for?
Fighting to improve living standards.
Fighting for a healthy global economy.
Fighting for justice. Fighting for the advancement of medicine. We are the Fighting Irish.
Welcome back to the live Notre Dame broadcast. I'm Emily Evans. Let's go now to Tacoma, Washington, into the studio of Master American organ builder Paul Fritz, who's building the new pipe organ for the Basilica of the Sacred Heart. All right, we lost that Skype call, but we will get back to it as soon as we can. And we'll be right back after the break.
And may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
We are the University of Notre Dame.
An Irish blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
We are the University of Notre Dame.
And welcome back to Notre Dame Day, and I am honored to be joined right now by Notre Dame linebacker, a junior from St. Paul, Minnesota, James Onwalu. Thank you for taking some time. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
You've had an interesting time here on the football field, recruited as one of the top wide receivers in the country.
Yeah.
Then you moved to safety. Now you're a linebacker. You started 8 games last year. I guess some would say you're a little undersized to be a linebacker, but you're getting a lot of playing time. How's that going for you?
It's going great. I mean, it's been a smooth transition. It's a little different on defense, but I've got a bunch of guys around me that have really helped me out, being in there with Joe and Jalen. You couldn't be in there and learning from anybody better. So
now, of course, you played a little defense in high school. I know in high school, though, you were an offensive star.
Yeah.
What's it like to go from a guy who was running away from people to score touchdowns to a guy who's running to people to hit them?
No, yeah, it's much different, especially at the college level. It's a different game and a totally different scheme throughout the week. So it's been quite the transition, but like I said, it's going fairly smoothly.
And I know you've said in the past when people have said, well, what about you at linebacker? You like to play physical football.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's one of my strong suits, and I think that's what Coach Kelly saw, and one of the reasons he brought me over from offense. I like to get into it no matter what the size of the opponent is. So.
I often, when I talk to people about how important the student part of student athlete here is at Notre Dame, unlike a lot of places, sometimes students capitalized and athlete is not.
Yeah.
And you're kind of the epitome of the student athlete. You're a finance major in the Mendoza College of Business. How do you balance it? Give me an average day in your life, say, during football season.
During the football season, it's pretty busy. The training room opens at about 5:30 or 6. You're in there getting your body work done, get a workout in after that, and then go to class around 9:30. Spend most of your day in the classroom learning, and then head back over to the Goog, a little bit more treatment, get taped up, spend some time in the film room, about an hour and a half before practice. Head out to the practice fields, get your work done out there, get in probably around 5:30 or 6, watch a little bit more film since Jalen and Joe like to do a little bit more work after, and then eat dinner and get to your homework probably 8:30ish.
And really, during the course of the entire year, assuming as we always do, you're in a bowl game, you get about maybe 4 weeks off, 3 of them in the summer between the end of the regular spring semester and the start of summer school. But you're not going to the beach. You have some special plans. Tell us what you're planning to do.
Yeah, I wish I was heading to the beach, but I'm heading out to New York. Going to be doing a little bit of work with Bank of America Merrill Lynch as a financial analyst for a trader on the trading floor.
And I know you worked very hard at this, but when both Bank of America and Morgan Stanley, where your brother works, found out that you were looking for an internship, they actually kind of started a little bidding war to try to get you to pick one over the other. What was that like to get that kind of interest while you're still in college from 2 of the leading financial firms in America?
Oh, I mean, it's pretty exciting. It's a very competitive industry, and they want to get people that really want to come in and work hard. So it's tough turning down the Morgan Stanley offer, but I'm pretty excited to be in a strong ND base at Bank of America.
And sometimes people get, they're somewhat cynical about the commitment of the coaching staff and Coach Kelly to the academic side. And being here with your teammates, very important when that summer session starts. But when Coach Kelly found out you had this opportunity, what did he do?
He actually ended up giving me an extra week. It's usually a 10-week internship out in New York. Thankfully, Bank of America is working with me to, shorten that up a little bit so I can still get an experience and work with them. But yeah, Coach Kelly was very understanding and wanted me to pursue this opportunity as well. So I'll be there for an extra week, but then I'll be getting back here and ready to work.
James, always a pleasure.
Yeah,
thank you. Good luck, both in New York and back on the football field.
Thank you very much.
And now let's go back to our Notre Dame reporter, Nicole. It looks like you have some interesting guests with you.
Thanks so much, Jack. We're in for a special treat. We teleported to outside main building here with the Notre Dame drum line. Take it away, guys, with techno. make some noise for, oh, they're still playing. All right, thank you so much, Notre Dame Drumline. Let's make some noise for them. All right, back to you in the studio, Jack.
All right, Nicole, thank you. Welcome back to the live Notre Dame broadcast. I'm Emily Evans. Let's go now to Tacoma, Washington, into the studio of Master American organ builder Paul Fritz, who is building the new pipe organ for the Basilica of the Sacred Heart. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's nice to be here.
We're glad to have you. And I guess first question, what's the largest organ you've ever built?
It will be this one for the Basilica. Would you like to take a look?
Oh, I'd love to take a look.
Well, let's switch the camera around here.
Okay.
And here's a drawing of the organ. Gives you an idea of how it will look in the balcony. It's about 40 feet tall. And this section right here is what's standing now in the shop. And it is standing right here.
Wow. When will this organ be on campus?
A year from August.
Okay, and how long do you think it'll take to install and be ready to play?
We will set it up in about 2 weeks' time. And the voicing and tuning will go on for about 4.5 months. So we'll go upstairs here and have a little closer look at this from above, where we have 2 of the wind chests in place. There are many, many wind chests, and they send wind to the pipes. There are over 5,000 pipes in the organ. And we have a lot of space here to set the organ up. And this is why the installation time will be so quick, because everything has been together. We also have some carvings here.
Wow.
That are curved, very intricate. Those will be gold-leafed. And we can go have another look here. That open spot in the middle is where the keyboards go. There'll be 4 keyboards and pedal board. And each of those control one section of the organ. So in a sense, we've got 5 different organs in one. And that enables one division to be accompanying the solo on another division. Here we have the bellows in place that will supply wind to the various divisions. The inner workings will go in this area. And in the other room, we have a lot of pipe storage. Most of the pipes in the organ are made, and many of them are the size of a pencil for the largest one. And they're different shapes and sizes. And here's trays of carvings. A lot of carvings in the organ. About 150 square feet.
Paul, can you talk about the major steps in the process of building an organ? I mean, is this all handmade?
Basically, it's handmade. The first step is design, a very important step because it ultimately determines what the organ is. And then the crafting occurs over a long period of time. Various parts are made. The pipes begin almost immediately. We work on the intricate mechanical parts first, and then the casework, which we see here, begins, and we start setting things up. So the full organ will be standing here.
Paul, this is extremely impressive. I'm sorry we're going to have to wrap things up back here. We really appreciate you taking your time out of your work. It means a lot to us, and we really can't wait to hear and see this new organ.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Now let's go to Jonathan, who has a residence hall competition.
I'm down here in the performance space. We're here for Heads Up Trivia. It's the women of Lewis versus the women of Walsh. So let's take it around. Give me your name and your major.
Lizette, chemical engineer.
Kaylee, business. Jess, computer engineering.
Marianne, chemical engineering.
All right, so you guys know the rules. Ready to get set up? Okay, let's get started.
What? What? Where?
Walsh Hall.
No. It's a grassy thing.
God Quad.
Yes. Who gave the land?
Baden.
And what is it?
Baden Hall.
Yes. Pass. Where do they play basketball?
Purcell Pavilion.
Yep. Who recently died? The
Hesburgh.
Yep. It's one of the signature events. Oh, just pass. What is the building at the end of the quad named after?
New Rockney.
Yep. Pass.
Come on, Marianne.
When was Notre Dame founded?
1842.
Yep. Sorry. Like this. What is it called?
Touch on Jesus.
Yep. Matthew.
Soren.
Yep. What is this on top of?
Hesburgh Library.
Yep. Pass. Pass. Marianne.
Time is up. Nice job. Nice job. Okay, I think we're ready for the next round. Okay, so you guys had 9 big points. All right, you guys ready to go? Next round? Lewis, go ahead. Let's do it.
Greek letters.
Alumni Hall.
Pass it. Lake.
St. Mary's Lake.
That's it. Campus Crossroads.
Stadium.
Statue outside the library.
Of Father Hesburgh. First down Moses.
Yes. Current coach.
Brian Kelly.
Yes. Steads.
Yacht dance.
Yes. Hip hop night.
Legends.
Yes. New gym.
Rolf's.
Yes. Animal on campus.
Squirrels.
Yes.
Touchdown Jesus.
Yes. Dylan, your boyfriend.
Soren.
Yes. My boyfriend.
Ryan Hall.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Nice job. And the results. 11, Lewis wins. Congrats, congrats. Wonderful job, everyone. Thank you so much for playing. And I think we have O'Neill coming up next. Okay, let's bring in the guys from O'Neill here. Thanks very much, ladies. Thank you so much. All right, let's hear the guys from O'Neill. All right, so let's start with name and major.
Kevin Frost, Management Consulting. John Dorn, Accounting. Where you at, Keo?
All right, speaking of Keo, they didn't show up. So what we're going to do instead is just have you guys do a round and see how you do, have some fun with it. Best of luck to you guys.
Thank you.
Take it away.
Let's impress them all.
Golden Dome's on it.
Main building.
You can keep your friends there all night long in your dorm. We have
24-hour lunch.
Next to the Rockney building, girls'
Lions?
dorm. Yeah. Next to Zom, girls' dorm.
Kavanaugh.
Next to the main building, guys' dorm.
St. Ed's.
Yeah. They have this once at the beginning of the year. It's the dorm next to alumni. It's the first
Dome Pep
football
Rally.
game. Yep. He had an imaginary girlfriend.
What?
He had an imaginary girlfriend.
Oh, Manti Te'o.
Yeah. Girls' dorm is on South Quad, I think.
Pangborn?
No.
Howard?
Dwight plays for the Houston Rockets.
Howard.
Yeah,
Howard Hall.
Yeah. It's the Quad, not South, but
North.
yeah. It's the fight song.
Notre Dame Victory March.
Yep. You can get your dance. That was bad.
All right, time's up. You guys are the winners. Let's see how many points you got here. 10 points. Nice job, gents. Let's take things back up to Jack.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. You know, it's not every day you meet someone who has just run in one of the most famous annual sporting events in the world, the Boston Marathon. But Chuck Connors is no ordinary Notre Dame junior, and he had a very special reason for running this year, and I'm pleased to welcome Chuck to this program. You're a Boston area native, so just to run in this I know is special, but you had an even more special reason for running.
Yes, we did. My sister and I were lucky enough to be part of the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute Marathon Challenge team that we applied for. And we ran in honor of our mother, who was a patient there for her short battle with leukemia just over a year and a half ago. And we were not only running in honor of her, but to raise money for cancer research.
And I know when people hear of your story, they're very supportive. I mean, my dad died a couple of years ago and he was 83. To lose your mom at your age has to be crushing. How did that help you get through this?
Well, it was extremely hard, obviously, but it was a good outlet as part of the grieving process for running. Physical activity definitely helped, and for such an incredible goal, such as running a marathon, it was very tough, but I finished, so at least that's good.
Now, your sister's also a student here at Notre Dame. Were either of you athletes in high school?
Yes, I was a baseball player, and she was an athlete as well. So, and she was definitely the runner out of the two of us. I had never ran more than 3 miles before training, but it was her idea. She ran the Holy Half last year here, and she thought, you know, why don't we do the full thing in Boston?
So did she kind of motivate you? I mean, how many miles did you put in training so that you could finish? And I mean, people may say, oh, 5 hours. There's a lot of people still finishing at the 5-hour mark of the Boston Marathon. I mean, to me, it's one of the most impressive physical achievements anybody can achieve athletically. But how many miles do you think you put in training?
Well, I mean, I'd say over 100. Training began back when we were accepted on the team back in early October. So every week I was running 3 or 4 times, 6 to 8 miles. And the most being 14 to 16. So definitely clocked a lot of hours and miles here in South Bend, but it was definitely a tough process, but we finished.
And as a Boston area native, you know how special that is. Folks in the Midwest may not know it's Patriots Day, it's a holiday. Mm-hmm. The Red Sox play at 11 o'clock, and then literally hundreds of thousands of people come out to cheer on the 30,000 or so runners. But now in the wake of the Boston Marathon bombing, it's an even more emotional event. Did you sense that as well?
Absolutely. And actually, the Boston community established a Be Strong motto, which my family took into place, obviously, when my mother was diagnosed. So there was that intimate connection just right there. So it was all the more emotional to be able to run that in such a special honor to her.
Well, congratulations to both you and your sister, and thank you for taking a terrible tragedy in your life and turning it into something where you're going to help others, hopefully not have to experience someday what your family just had to experience.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chuck. Now let's go back down to the social media lounge and Jonathan.
Hey, thanks so much, Jack. We're back down here in the social media lounge, first floor of La Fortune. A big thanks to everyone who's participated in Notre Dame Day, for the thousands watching around the world live on NotreDameDay.nd.edu. As you can see, we've eclipsed the 12,000 gift milestone. It's an historic day for Notre Dame. Big thanks to all of you who have clicked that gold give and vote button. who have cast your initial gift, could be $10, could be $100, and received your 5 votes that you've helped allocate to hundreds of different campus interests as part of our $1 million Challenge Fund competition. This day is for you. This day is for the Notre Dame community to say, we believe strongly in these aspects of Notre Dame's mission, whether it's residence life, whether it's clubs, whether it's academic institutes, and to say, we're going to make this a priority, we believe in this, and we want to make the best experience possible for this generation of Notre Dame students and for generations to come. So a huge thank you to all of you. Let's take a look at the leaderboard. People said Frisbee could not be topped. That was a lot of the discussion around here today in La Fortune. Frisbee, they got out front really early. They were strong all day. How is this happening? Well, the Glee Club has come through. All the Glee Club supporters out there, they have mobilized. Glee Club has overtaken the top of the leaderboard with 2,081 votes. If the contest ended right now, they would receive $43,000 out of our $1 million Challenge Fund. Obviously, Frisbee is not out of it yet. We still have a long way to go this evening. They have 2,070 votes. St. Ed's hanging in there in the number 3 spot with just over 1,400 votes, certainly standing out in front of all the residence halls. So we know things are staying active on social media. That's how a lot of these groups are getting the words out to their constituents. Let's go to my esteemed colleague, the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Craig Horvath, to tell us what's happening out in that space. Craig?
Thank you, Jonathan, here live from La Fortune Student Center, La Fun, and it is a lot of fun down here. Just heard the band, the drum line outside in front of the Golden Dome. If you're ADD like me, there's lots of shiny objects down here to chase and people to look at. Let's go to the photo poll of the day. Last hour, it was your favorite band tradition, and the drummer's circle beat Trumpets Under the Dome 62% to 38%. This hour, it's your favorite ND bagpipe tune, the Victory March or Danny Boy. If you want the Victory March, tweet hashtag ND Victory. If you want Danny Boy, hashtag ND Danny Boy. Now let's head over to the social media board, and you can see that people are still tweeting. Check out at Under Armour Creative Designer at this hour. We did it. We're now number 1, the Glee Club, boasting that they've overtaken the Frisbee Club. So there's still a lot of time. Tweet your pictures. Come on down to La Fortune. Join us for Notre Dame Day. We're going to go over to the hot board here and see if we have any more action. And it does look like we've picked up some action in Colombia. Perhaps that's my former Notre Dame suite mate, Ramon de la Torre, down there in Bogota. But continue to tweet, Instagram, Facebook, and flash everything that you can about Notre Dame Day 2015. We need your votes. We need your enthusiasm. We need your support. Go Irish. Thank you.